Hello, Dr. Vicky here from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center. It's I decided to do another in the news segment. I try to do these at the end of the week, either Thursday or Friday, sometimes Saturday. But it's hard to schedule them sometimes because there's so much going on, and then you want to decide who you want to do. So tonight I'm going to do Mike Johnson, which is interesting because that's my neighbor's name, but it's not my neighbor. It's the Speaker of the House, third in line for the president. Who is this guy who sort of came upon the scene, right? So let's take a look at him from the perspective of his astrology, his numerology, and his tree of life. So just give me a moment and I will get started. All right, so we're looking at our new Speaker of the House, third in line for the presidency. Well, third in line of power, Mike Johnson, his numerology, astrology, and tree of life. All right, so we know this gentleman as Mike Johnson. Incidentally, his name, Mike Johnson, vibrates to a 52-7, which is the Queen of Swords in the tarot, 52-7 vibration. However, his name isn't Mike Johnson, it's James Michael Johnson. And so when we look at that name, we get his soul vibration from his vowels. When we add up all the vowels in his name, we get a 33-6 vibration, which in the tarot is the Seven of Wands. And we can see the card right there next to the Seven of Wands, next to the 33-6, Seven of Wands, and there's the Seven of Wands. His outer personality, this is his consonants. We have the Four of Cups, which is a 44-8 vibration. If you notice, he has a 33 and a 44. Those are master numbers. Okay. Now, just because you have master numbers don't mean that you necessarily live up to the potential of those numbers. We will generally if you can't hold the vibration of, say, the 33, you will go to the 6 vibration. If you can't hold the vibration of the 44, you move into the 8 vibration. Okay, so that's sort of how that works. Remember, the name that somebody comes in on is the vibration, what his soul already knows and understands about himself. The sixth soul is somebody who does have a deep sense of responsibility to his community. His outer personality, that 8 vibration, is a managerial. It's a karmic number. It's a as you sow, so shall you reap number. It is the Four of Cups. It is associated with the sign of Cancer. He's very involved in in what he thinks women should do with their bodies. So we can maybe see that in this connection here. When we add these two vibrations together, we get his expression vibration. That's how he balances his inner and outer self. His inner self is fire, his outer self is water. When we see fire and water together, we have a spiritual initiation. So he's going through a spiritual initiation in this lifetime. His soul, his spirit is going through an initiation. And when you go through these initiation process, not everybody does, but when you do, your life is very often very lots of changes, lots of not necessarily upheavals, but a lot of tests. We get a lot of tests with this. If we add these two vibrations together, we get a 77-5. That is the Nine of Pentacles, the Nine of Pentacles. And so this is, he will know if he's balancing his inner and outer self on how self-reliant he can be financially. Okay, so that's the vibration that he comes in on. What he's here to learn in this lifetime, we get through his date of birth. His date of birth, oh, I didn't even write it in here. His date of birth is, oh dear, so I should know. January 30th, 1972. Okay, when we add that vibration together, we get a 50/5 vibration, which in the tarot is the 10 of Cups. This is a Pisces vibration. This is a Pisces vibration. He actually has Venus in Pisces. Again, a connection to the feminine there. And he's come in to learn how to be happy. He doesn't strike me as a particularly happy person. I think somebody who feels the need to control others so much has no idea about joy. That's what I think. All right. And then we look at his shadow and his eccentric angle or his shadow. This is what he's come in to heal. And we have the Two of Cups here, the 42-6. He's coming to heal his feelings, his emotions, okay, around relationship. We can see this here. And the responsibilities that he has in relationships. This vibration as a shadow can be somebody who's very idealistic about love. It's like a certain way, right? An ideal. He has an ideal that he can never live up to. Or the other person most likely couldn't live up to. Let's just say I wouldn't want to be married to this guy. When he made speaker, I guess his wife couldn't make it because she was on her knees praying for something. I think she was praying for her life because this guy is formidable with a little bit of power, but now he's got a lot of power, and I think his wife is a little scared of it. But that's just my own opinion. Now, I do want to state that I haven't really paid attention all that much about this guy. I know he's horrible. I know the stuff he says about women and reproductive rights and all of that stuff is just horrible, but I don't want to, I didn't want to like look too deeply because I didn't want to make an opinion. I didn't want to have necessarily have an opinion about this guy. I don't know. I also wasn't sure if I should do him because the way the Republicans go through speakers of the House is the way, you go through toilet paper in a dysentery convention, right? So but he looks like he's going to hang around for a while. And I really was, and then I looked at his chart and I'm like, oh shit, he might actually hang around for a while. So let's take a look. Let's continue. So we'll look at his chart right now. We're going to look at his chart again. This chart is a noon chart for Shreveport, Louisiana. I don't know what time he was born. I like the noon charts for public figures because it really does reflect how we see them anyway. Okay, so we have his sun up here in Aquarius, 10 degrees of Aquarius, conjunct the North Node. His moon down here. Now, we don't know what time he was born, so we're not sure of the degree of his moon, but I rest assured he has a moon in Leo, which kind of makes sense. He also has the south node in Leo. He was born on an eclipse, on a lunar eclipse. Interestingly enough, so was Trump, born on a lunar eclipse. Although if you're going to be born on a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse, I believe the lunar eclipse is considered less lucky in these cases. But it's very interesting that both Trump and this guy has real big issues with women. Big issues with women. So I don't know if that's indicative of full moon lunar eclipses in men in power, but that would be a very interesting study for sure. So what I've done here is we have his chart with the noon chart here. And I put the soul, his vibrations, and we can see where they sort of fall on the chart. So the soul vibration is a 33-6 vibration. This on the tree of life is located in the Sephiroth of Venus, called Netzach. That's the name of the Sephiroth. And he has a Venus in Leo. He doesn't have a Venus in Leo. Oh, it's Venus. It's Venus, sorry. It's Venus. It's connected with Venus. Where's his Venus? Right here in Pisces, 18 degrees of Pisces. His quiescent 44.8 is found in the Sephiroth of Jupiter, Hesed, and he has it's connected with Jupiter and it's connected with the water sign of Cancer. But we're just looking at the Jupiter. Where's his Jupiter? He has Jupiter in Sag. Now, Jupiter in Sag is what I would call, or has the potential of being the true believer. The true believer. And he definitely has some issue here because he does have a pretty tight in conjunct with Saturn and Jupiter. Okay. All right. His moon, which is his expression is a 77.5, found on the tree of life in the Sephiroth of the moon. So we look at his moon. He has his moon in Leo. Okay, so we know that. And of course, we take into consideration that we have a lunar eclipse on his birthday. His path of life, 50/5, found in Malkuth on the tree of life. Malkuth is connected to the earth. What's the earth in somebody's chart? Well, the earth is always opposite the sun. And so if his sun is at 10 degrees of Aquarius, then his earth is at 10 degrees of Leo. And then we see his shadow 42.6, found in Hokmah on the tree of life, which is the Sephiroth of Uranus. He has Uranus here in Libra. And it is opposite Mars. And it is opposite Chiron. And let's see, 32. And it's almost like right in the middle of Chiron. So this Chiron Mars, it's not a conjunction, but it is a new phase relationship to each other. This can be somebody who is his masculinity is wounded in some way. Okay, so we have that, and Uranus opposite that. I'm going to talk about this aspect in particular when we get to looking more deeply into his chart, which is going to come a little bit later. But I do want to point out his eclipse. And so I went to Bernadette Brady's book on eclipses. Well, it used to be Predictive Astrology by Bernadette Brady. It's a seminal work. Most astrologers have it because of that reason. But he was born on a total lunar eclipse. The 10 North eclipse, that's the Brady demarcation. It's also called Saros series. I didn't look up to see the number of the Saros series. But that's easy enough to look up. You can just look that up online. There is a very strong emphasis on communication. And at the same time, frustrating or inhibiting events may come into the person's life via news, paperwork, or a young person. The person may feel tired and drained, and this is therefore a good time to take things quietly and work through difficulties one at a time. Now, that is the energy of the eclipse that he has his full moon lunar eclipse on. Okay, so that's the energy of that eclipse. There was a north eclipse, so it started at the north node and works its way down to the south node. But these eclipse cycles are very, very long, like 2,400 years or something like that. So it takes a really long time for an eclipse to go from the north to the south or the south to the north, depending on the eclipse. But in this case, this is what Bernadette says about this. Now, it's interesting because we can see that, there's a strong emphasis on communication. He seems very adept at saying what he thinks, even if it's ridiculous. And at the same time, frustrating or inhibiting events may come into a person's life. Well, he's really he wants to go all the way back to, I don't know what he wants to go back to. I kind of have an idea, but we'll talk about that later. It's not a sane thing. It has nothing to do with sanity. Okay. So there's not a reason, but there is definitely a wound. Okay. All right. Let's keep looking. Oops. All right. Next page. All right. So we sort of looked at his chart in relationship to his major numbers. Now, if we look at his divine triangle, which is right here, we take his name, we put it around James first, and then Michael. He is now on this path here. In 2023, let's see, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51. He'll be 52 on his next birthday. So he's still on this line here. This is the 13-4 line. This is the Scorpio line, and it's the death card. So through this, from age 45 to age 54, he's going to be letting go of things that no longer serve him. Okay. When he gets to 54, then he moves into his wisdom square, into his wisdom years. But so far, he's made it through his youth and almost all the way through his power square. Now, his youth square is a 25-7. That's the Knight of Wands, and that's what we see here. His power square, this is what he built. So this is connected to the wound. This sometimes I see this guy as the proselytizer, like the guy who goes out and proselytizes everything that he believes, right? I believe this, I believe that, you must follow me, that kind of thing. And then we have the power square, and the power square is also a knight. We have the Knight of Pentacles here. See, I put a little pink line over here to indicate that so he's been through here and here, and now he's up on this end over here. This is earth, right? So we have fire and earth, and then his wisdom square is also a knight, will be water, but we don't know. He hasn't reached his wisdom square, so he's not quite wise yet. But he is building his power, and part of his power is the fact that he can be patient and wait till his moment, which seems like this is his moment. One of the interesting things about, so your divine triangle this is your path of life. We have the 10 of Cups here in Malkuth. And then these are the challenges. This is the challenge that you come in with as a youth. Your family dynamic is here. The 25-7 could be a child who felt very alone, very isolated, sort of in on themselves, and kind of a let's say a weirdo, but like just like in his own little like world kind of idea, right? Then we have the Knight of Pentacles here, and the power square helps us to build a foundation as we heal the youth square. Now the youth square is also connected to that 42-6 vibration of his shadow and his soul vibration, because the youth square energy is just like the soul, comes in with the incarnation, and the wound, actually, which I didn't mention before, does come in with that as well. The wound is really what you need to heal in order for the soul to move into its new lesson. So we have the soul, 7 of Wands, who's fighting the good fight, but he's come in to learn how to love, and he needs to heal that shadow that he has. All right, and part of that shadow is connected to Uranus. And when we looked at his chart, he had Uranus opposite Mars and Uranus opposite Chiron, which we will look at again. So we have the Knight of Pentacles here, and then we have the Knight. So all of these knights are in one area of the tree of life, and that's in Tiphereth. Tiphereth is associated with the sun. And so I looked to see where his sun was. He has his sun in Aquarius. And so this is really his challenge his whole life, is sort of seen in the symbology of this 10-degree Aquarius sun. It says, a man who had for a time become the embodiment of a popular ideal is made to realize that as a person, he is not the ideal. The need to deal with human beings as persons and not as screens upon which one projects one's dreams and ideals. The key word here is a critical need for self-evaluation. Okay. All right. So that's his divine triangle. If we look at his pinnacle in 2021, he moved into his top pinnacle here, a 20/2. That is the Judgment card, and it is associated with the planet Pluto. So I looked on his chart to see where he had Pluto. This, of course, the Judgment card is the card of inevitability, right? It's inevitably you're going to be called to task. Inevitably, you're going to be required to wake up. Okay. And so for the rest of his life, he's going to have these experiences that wake him up. So let's take a look at Pluto, because that's what this is connected to, and this is for the rest of his life. So 2 degrees of Pluto, that's where his Pluto sits, is the transmutation of the fruits of past experiences into the seed realizations of the forever creative spirit, a repolarization of inner energies leading to a creative centralization of consciousness. So this is a pretty powerful symbol if he is in fact, and he may in fact evolve through this, because that's what he's being asked to do. And he does have all these master numbers. So sometimes people not everybody who has master numbers is on the the white hats or the black hats, whatever you want to say, however you want to look at that. Everybody plays their part. It's one of the reasons why I like looking at these people through the lens of numerology and Kabbalah, because we all are serving a purpose, and we may not necessarily agree with this guy. I certainly don't. I think he's abhorrent and all the rest. All his ideas like make me want to just, uh, please. Anyway, but it's definitely worth looking at because we're all here to learn something. So over here, we'll just take a look here at some of the things that happened in his life. Now he was a lawyer. I think he helped Trump. I don't think it was the electors, but had something to do with the insurrection. He didn't vote to what do you call it, Biden's election. He was one of the dissenters. He helped with January 6th, all that stuff. Okay. So not in the way that those other guys did, but he definitely played his part. So let's see, 2019, he was born, on the 30th of January. So January 6th happened in his 2019 vibration. So that happened. He was in a 43-7 vibration, which is associated with Baina on the Tree of Life, the dark night of the soul, as it were. And when we had the insurrection, so the insurrection and still votes to overturn the election happened when he was in a dark night of the soul year. And it's a 7. So this is dealing with his emotions. And this can be the 7, can connect with the 7 of his youth. And then we have a 9. So there was some sort of completion. So mission accomplished, as it were. Then on the 19th, 5/19/2021, he voted against the January 6th commission, and that would have been right here. He was in a 9-year. This is the burden bearer. This is the 10 of wands. And in a 9 period, mission accomplished. He got in and did what he needed to do. 9s, end, right? Okay. On the 24th of June, we had the Dobbs decision, 2022. And I put that here because he's such a vehement anti-abortion, pro-life. I don't know what the heck you call him, but anyway, it's there, and he's in a 1 vibration. So this is a new beginning for him, and this is something that he wants a federal ban on abortion. That's what he wants. And so step 1, unfortunately, and in an 11 vibration, which is legal matters. And then on the 25th of October, the worst month I remember seeing in a long, long time. October was a terrible month. Sorry, October. He became Speaker of the House. Incidentally, the day that he became Speaker of the House was a 42-6, which is his shadow. All right. And that happened right here. I put the little mark here, because this is going to make him rich, right? So he's in a 38-11, dark night of the soul, Baina. Decision year. And he's in a 13-4 period when he becomes Speaker of the House. And he'll be in this period until his birthday on the 30th of January. And then next month, next year, January, after his birthday, next year, 2024. He moves into a 39-3 vibration, which is this Knight of Cups. Well, he's not there yet, but he has a little dip of his toe in the Knight of Cups energy. And it looks like lots of responsibility, letting go, spiritual initiation. We'll see how long he lasts. Okay, let's keep going. This was fascinating. I really had a good time with this one. All right, so let's take a look at the Tree of Life along with the symbols that we have here and see if we can come up with any kind of story that we can maybe figure out about Mike Johnson. Who is this guy? All right, so here is his Tree of Life. I put all his planets, where the planets go, in the signs and the like. And then I put over that, well, where his soul vibration, his quiescent, his expression, his path of life, and his shadow up here. Okay, so let's start with his shadow. Why not? The 42-6 is associated with Hokmah. Hokmah is wisdom. It is the divine masculine. So having your shadow in the divine masculine could be have something to do with issues with father. Issues with father. Interestingly enough, he's got that eclipse, issues with mother, right? And he has his shadow in Hokmah, which is exactly where Donald Trump has his shadow in Hokmah. So we can see similarities. Only this guy's way smarter than Trump, but probably not nearly and near as funny or as affable, or as people probably not going to back this guy. But anyway, that's another story for another day. So let's take a look. Here's the shadow. So we have his Uranus. We look at his Uranus in his chart. Here it is. It's at 18 on 17 retrograde. So we look at 19. We always go up 19 degrees of Libra, a gang of robbers in hiding. That's the Sabian symbol for his shadow. Keynote, protest against disharmonic social privilege. And keyword here is group protest. Group protest. So that's the energy. Now look, if we can see here that he has Uranus again opposite Mars. This can be difficult. Let's see. I want to read that to you now. What did I do with the book? I looked in oh dear. Put it in the book. What did I do with the book? Oh crap, Oli. It's Oli over there. Excuse me a second. I don't know how that happened. I remember putting it there. Hold on, I'm trying to get it with my feet. Not that easy. It must have fallen. Oh Jesus. Let's see. Sorry about that. I unplugged my camera. Hold on. I'll do this without unplugging my camera again. Okay. That was terrible. All right. Okay, so let me read to you from Robert Pelletier's book, Mars opposite Uranus. And it is a new phase opposition. Uranus, if it was exactly opposite, it would be Uranus. I mean, Mars would be at 18-17, but it's further along. So this is a new phase. And when we have uh, new phase aspects, not new phase, full phase aspects, it's really about putting something out there. So that's what he's putting something out there. And this is his shadow that he's putting out there. All right. With Mars opposite Uranus, you have a genius for arousing others to challenge you. You enjoy competition and have a flair for gaining dominance over others. The simple fact is you are arrogant, demanding, and authoritative in your dealings, which tends to disarm people. You seem to thrive on bickering and argument, even if you aren't serious about it. This is just another way to provide continuing excitement. Your behavior has little to do with your competence, although your forwardness often convinces others that you know what you are doing. With your flair for expression, you should seek occupations such as selling, politics, group interests, or science that depend on this quality. You could become interested in hazardous occupations like flying, racing, exploring, or mountain climbing, but you must be extremely careful and take all safety precautions. Because you are accident prone, these endeavors are not recommended. You tend to throw caution to the wind, especially when someone is watching. Your desire for approval is so strong that you will even risk danger to get it. You don't tolerate any restrictions on your freedom and mobility and need to be constantly on the move. It is Is this because you are afraid others will discover how insecure you really are? Perhaps your lifestyle is a defense against admitting that you are mainly a physical person. You aren't the easiest person to get along with. Your outbursts of temper and cantankerous attitude really rub people the wrong way. A revolutionary, you are basically against tradition, or so in tradition that you're against, I don't know. Anyway, we'll see. With all the limits to tradition, with all its limits to individuality. You are critical of anyone who wields authority, and you want your own way so much that you become violent when anyone tries to deny you. Your unpredictable nature may cause you to lose dear friends who will not tolerate your arrogance. So that is our speaker of the house, guys. And it's his shadow. That's what's specific. That's why I bring it up. That's why I read it. It's connected to his shadow. So this may be, sometimes the shadow is not something the person even knows is there, but the people in his life certainly do. That's what I said about his wife before. So anyway, so let's continue. So that's the shadow. Let's look at his soul, 33-6. This is Venus. It's the Sephiroth of Venus. There's the sign for Venus. And here's his Venus in Pisces. Now, I did do an Aries rising chart here, by the way. That's why it looks different. It just makes it more specific to the archetype. That's why I like to use the Aries rising here. So we have a soul at 15, at 18 of Pisces. Says, in a gigantic tent, villagers witness a spectacular performance. The keynote is the collective appeal of a well-staged and exciting display of skill or oratory. Keyword, public self-dramatization. This is his soul, guys. Public self-dramatization. All right, let's take a look at Venus. What's Venus doing? Oh, see, Venus is, in conjunct Uranus, his shadow. Do you think that his opinion on women may have something to do with his wounded shadow energy here? Let's take a look at that in conjunct. I haven't looked at it yet, so let's look at it now, and we'll read it together. Venus in conjunct Uranus. You have a Venus in conjunct Uranus indicating that you often neglect your own desires to satisfy others. When you do something to please yourself, you know you've earned it because of the sacrifices involved. Others seem to feel that you have an obligation to indulge their needs. You comply, but not without bitterness. By overreacting with sympathy and understanding, you burden yourself with other people's problems. If you don't immediately respond with help, you punish yourself by feeling guilty. You must stop asking people if you can do anything for them in a crisis. In other words, learn to mind your own business. This is a man who wants to get in women's wombs and tell them what a woman could do with her womb. He ain't minding his own business very good. You have a strong desire to communicate with others, but this should not be confused with buying their friendship or doing favors for them. If you do this, you will later hate yourself for being used. And even though you will have only yourself to blame, meet others only halfway until you know they are sincere. You can test their genuineness of their interest by making demands on them. You are extremely bright and understanding and show honest concern for others. At the same time, you implicate yourself in difficult situations that cause you much mental anxiety. To succeed in your profession, you must be alert. Your competitors will try to win by capitalizing on your weaknesses. In your personal relationships, be particularly cautious if you ask to, especially if you're asked to give of yourself in a physical way. You tend to be impulsive and excitable, so you may be sorry later for the service you have rendered. Interesting. Okay, so we have that. Okay, so let's take a look at his quiescent. This is outer personality. This is Mike Johnson. This is who we meet. Mike Johnson's 44-8 in connected to Jupiter. Jupiter is powerfully placed in Sagittarius, but let's take a look at the saving symbol for this one. It's 29 degrees of Jupiter's at 29 of Sag. A fat boy mowing a lawn of his house on an elegant suburban street. The need to attend to everyday tasks which both ensure social worth and respectability and a benefit for one's constitution. Social respectability. Okay. Let's take a look at this Jupiter. So this Jupiter is interesting, first of all, because it's powerfully placed in Sagittarius. Sagittarius very often can be Jupiter and Sag can be the religious fanatic, the fundamentalist, and he seems to have fundamentalist tendencies, right? And it is in a very tight in conjunction to Saturn. Now, Saturn and Jupiter are a planetary pair that deals with how we express ourselves in the world. And this in conjunct requires a adjustment in relationship, in the way he relates to society. So let me read that. Let me read that in conjunct, because this really speaks to, why we know about him, I guess. All right, let's take a look. I actually haven't read this yet. Again, I didn't go over this. With an inconjunctive Jupiter Saturn, you feel painfully burdened by your responsibilities, but you find it difficult to justify these feelings. You carry a burden of guilt from some past incidents which you avoided duty whenever possible. Now you don't have the freedom to choose, and you are disturbed at not knowing how long the situation will be endured. You need not assume that you must always serve sacrificially to be rid of this burden. You need the advice of someone you trust. You can help to evaluate your priorities and determine the extent at which you must serve others. More importantly is to know when you must serve yourself. In many ways, your attempts to exploit your potentials are useless because you try to use them to satisfy your obligations to others. In this way, you put yourselves under a binding restraint and will always be at the mercy of those who will take advantage of you. If this continues for a prolonged period of time, you may become resentful and bitter of people you serve, even though you choose them yourself. This bitterness is really self-disgust for letting yourself be abused. You must stand way back to get a proper perspective of yourself, honestly and objectively. You are talented and certainly know right from wrong, but you seem destined to make life difficult for yourself. Spend some time and effort developing your creative potentials and become an expert in your chosen field. In order to escape from obscurity, you need to have a higher estimation of your worth. So he really is, I think this guy really is kind of tortured, you know. All right, so let's take a look. What else? So that's important. And it's especially important because we're going to get to this Saturn. Now, Saturn is not connected necessarily with any of his major numbers, but I did notice that it was stationary. So I wanted to look at it. It's in this tight in conjunct here. It's part of a grand trine with Mercury and Saturn here stationary. And then we have Pluto here in the second degree. So this is a pretty powerful trine. It's got two Earths and an air. So it's not completely Earth, not completely air, but he does have that, and that's pretty potent. He also has another one here, it looks like, in fire. Not exactly sure because not sure of his moon, but his Earth would be part of that. So he has a fire trine and he also has an Earth trine. The interesting thing about fire and Earth is that the shadow of fire is Earth, because fire shadow. If you work on the shadow side of fire, your body suffers. It's your earthly body that suffers. So I think that's pretty interesting. All right. So we looked at his quiescent. Did we look at his Jupiter? Yes. And his expression, now his expression is in the moon. It's here in Yesod 77.5, but we don't know his exact degree of his moon because we don't have an exact birth time. But you can see we can get an awful lot of information whether you have an exact birth time or not with this system, right? Okay, expression. Moon is in Leo, not sure of the degree, but we do know the degree of a south node, which is the emotions of the past, and he does have that eclipse at that south node. So we looked at it. 6 of Leo, a conservative, old-fashioned lady is confronted by a hippie girl. Keyword: the relativity of social values. I'm always an optimist, thinking that somebody's gonna like make a complete 180 and like become a like change hats and maybe become a good guy and stop all this ridiculousness. But that's just me and my crazy ideas of what people could do. So I want to look at this Saturn, right? Let's look at Saturn for a minute because I did indicate it here. He has Saturn at 30 degrees of Taurus and it's stationary, which is, pretty. I'm not sure if that's good or not. I can't say I don't know enough astrology. That I would have to look at, like what other astrologers say about that. I'll be right down. Thank you, baby. 30 degrees of Taurus, a peacock parading on a terrace of an old castle, the personal display of inherited gifts. So we can see that there's a lot of this Leo stuff here, public self-dramatization, a peacock. Let's see what else. There was something, this social respectability. There's a lot going on here with this guy. Let's take a look at his path of life, which is the 10 of Cups, right? That's his earth. His earth is going to be opposite his sun. His sun is in Aquarius. Opposite that, we have the earth. That's what the earth is right there. And that's at 10 degrees of Leo. Says an early morning dew sparkles as sunlight floods the field. The exalted feeling that rises within the soul of the individual who has successfully passed through the long night, which has tested his strength and his faith. Keyword here: transfiguration. Transfiguration. So this is a real transformational process that he's asking himself to go through in this life. Okay. And one more thing we're going to look at. Just a couple of things I want to point out about his chart. In this chart, it's the same chart. I did a noon chart again for Shreveport, but I included the asteroids, the feminine asteroids, because I knew there was going to be something in here because of his issues with abortion and women's rights to their own bodies. So the goddess is seen in all of the asteroids. Ceres, of course, is the mother. And we have Ceres here at 17 degrees of Leo, probably close to his moon and also close to his south node. His mother had him as a young. Abortion was not legal when he was born. So she had to have the baby, I guess. I mean, maybe that was her choice. But I know that there's some issue around that because I see Ceres next to the moon here in Leo. Ceres is the mother, but she's also, this is the cutting, this cuts, right? So this could be that. And we have it in a sextile to his very, very shadowy, right? Uranus, which incidentally is conjunct another of the feminine asteroids, Juno. And if we take that and we look, it makes a yod to Venus. Venus and Pisces. This is a very spiritual Venus. We have Vesta here as well, conjunct. It's not part of the yod, but it is conjunct Neptune. So there's a focus on the feminine, but there's an inconjunct here, right? I mean, it's adjustments needed. Adjustments needed. And that Venus, you have Venus at the head of a yod, you do feel like your values are not the same as the people that you come in the life with. And certainly he doesn't seem to be have the values that the majority of people that I know have, but I don't know. Like, I don't live down Shreveport, Louisiana. Maybe that's the way they feel down there. I doubt it. I doubt it. I'm pretty sure they think that they should have the rights over their own body. But I could be. You'd have to let me know if anybody's lives down in Louisiana what the consensus is, as it were. Yeah. So we have that. What else do we have here? So we have Vesta on Venus. Oh, here we go. Pallas Athena, the goddess of social justice, right here, at 20 degrees of Taurus. I don't remember the Dobbs decision, where Uranus was on the Dobbs decision, but I would guess it was pretty close to his Pallas Athena. Yeah, so Pallas Athena and Taurus, this is social justice or government. And of course, Taurus, the symbol for Taurus is a uterus. You know that, right? Uterus, fallopian tubes, right? Taurus is life, life. All right. So, and the other thing I want to mention is the eclipse that just happened, the full moon eclipse that just happened on the 28th of October, was exactly square his nodes. So his nodes are under pressure. We know this is a fated time for him. We do have Pluto sitting on, right now, Pluto is sitting on his sitting on his so freak sitting on his Mercury, trining his Saturn. He has a Mercury trine. This is somebody who does not change their mind, guys. Not change their mind. And this is at least stationary. This is direct, not open to anything. This guy is fixed, man. He's fixed. Of course, Pluto right now is at the end of Capricorn, will be moving back into Aquarius, trining his Pluto, and then getting close to his North Node, and then eventually his Sun. So this is a guy who, honestly, I'm not sure he's going to go anywhere. I think he's going to hang around. If he makes it through, he's going to hang around. And I think he's going to be somebody we have to contend with. But I don't know. I mean, this is not predictive. This is just sort of seeing where things fall for him. So hopefully this was helpful for you. If you like this kind of work, you can become a patron for little as $5 a month. It really just supports my YouTube habit. But I would like to develop more stuff on Patreon, specifically for my patrons. And so if you want to do that, you will get more stuff. I actually have a whole bunch of stuff that I've been working on to put on Patreon. But I have to make it, well, anyway, I have a whole bunch of stuff that I'm doing that. So you can do that if you want, or give me a thumbs up, like, subscribe, share with your friends, anybody who might be interested in this kind of work. And I'm very grateful. Thank you for all your wonderful thoughts, for your gifts. I've gotten a few donations of late. Thank you very much. Very sweet. It's very well appreciated. And it goes to good use. All right, guys, take care. All we can really do is our best in the moment that we're in. So even if this stuff stresses you out to the max, don't let it. He's going to do his thing. You're going to do your thing. We're all going to do our things. And we're going to move this to a better place. All right, guys. Take care. Have a wonderful week, and hopefully I'll see you again next week for In the News. Namaste. Much love.